Hey everybody, what's up? It's Dredrick, and we're doing another commentary here because people seem to like that last one, so let's go do another one. This time we're talking about something a little different. We're not going to be going through the full games. Instead, we're going to be taking a look at three early games of how to deal with the Demon Hunter Harass. The Demon Hunter has always been one of the big gold standard heroes in Warcraft 3, up there with the likes of the Blade Masters and Agility hero. He's got that extra edge of being an agility hero that just kind of right clicks and does a bunch of damage, which makes him really cool, really fun to play with. As you know what they say, every time a Night Elf builds a Demon Hunter, Mr. Cygnus gets his wings. So we're going to be taking a look at how to deal with this Demon Hunter Harass in the early game, because I think as we see some of the Keep of the Grove nerfs get a little bit more fleshed out, and as the BattleNet patches get pushed forward a little bit onto like the NetEase platform, you're going to see a little bit more of the Demon Hunter getting some play in this Night Elf vs. Undead matchup once again. So the Demon Hunter, what does he do? He's almost always going to start off with this Ancient War creep. He practically wrote the book on this shit. So the Demon Hunter is going to get level 2 here before the Undead even starts creeping this camp. It's ridiculous. He is very good at getting this level 2, and then he's going to run across the map and he's going to harass the shit out of you. Now, this game is between 120 as the Undead and Life as the Night Elf. And in my opinion, 120 makes a lot of mistakes in this early game and doesn't handle the situation very well. I know it's kind of taboo to criticize these pros, but you know it's important to understand that these guys have made more mistakes than most of us have even games played. So they do make mistakes, and we can learn from them, as well as the learning from the really awesome things that they do. So the Demon Hunter shows up at level 2, and Life's situation here, what Life is trying to do, basically, is find the Death Knight, mana burn the shit out of him, and just annoy him so he can get a super fast tech, get into his tier 2 Ancients of Lore. You're not going to see fairy dragons with the Demon Hunter so much, you're going to see dryads, and then he wants to get an expansion going up. What the Undead wants to do is he wants to get tier 3 so he can get Tri-Hero, get all the good tech that he needs to deal with this Night Elf army, as well as try and get his hero levels up early. Now, the mistake that that 120 makes early game is he doesn't finish this camp. I think he should have finished this camp for level 2, and there's two things that he's going to lose on this. One is that he's not going to get Unholy Aura, and two is he's going to take a lot of damage to the Death Knight. So let's see this play out, right? The Death Knight is going to creep solo here, and he's going to take a lot of damage. I'm just going to leave the Death Knight's health up on screen here while we see that meanwhile in the base, the Demon Hunter is going to attack, and he's going to bring this Mercenary on here, which is actually going to go really well for him. It's going to let him get a free ghoul kill in the Undead's base. The Undead, meanwhile, 120 is basically deciding, hey, I'm going to try and put some damage on the Demon Hunter. I get what he's going for here, but it ultimately ends up being a mistake for him. So the Death Knight finishes, he actually is item creeping. He doesn't even finish the camp, and so he doesn't get level 2. So he shows up here, and now he's low on health. He's half health, less than that actually. And he's got to fight against this Demon Hunter. So what he's got to try to do, basically, and what he's trying to do in his base, is he's going to try and put damage on this Demon Hunter, because he's all the way across the map, so if he gets him low enough, the Demon Hunter's going to have to go all the way back to his base to heal up on a Moonwalm, which is going to let 120 have a little bit of time to be by himself to creep and get kind of his situation set up how he wants to. Now, it's not going to work very well, largely because of this Shadow Priest that the Demon Hunter has. But the Demon Hunter, basically, one of the strengths of an agility hero is that they have high armor. You see here with that Ring of Protection and this Slipper of Agility, that's 3 extra armor that the Demon Hunter's bringing to the table. He doesn't take damage from right clicks. He really doesn't take much. And so now 120's lost 2 ghouls to this, and he's, kind of done damage to the Demon Hunter, as much damage as his Death Knight has taken, though. The only difference being that the Demon Hunter has a way to heal and the Death Knight does not. So it really has gone very poorly this early game for 120, and it all comes down to what his strategy was. He allowed himself to take a bunch of damage on the Death Knight that he couldn't afford to take in this matchup, and instead of going for what we're going to see in the other games, he just tried to put damage on the Demon Hunter. You can't really do that. The Demon Hunter, and like all other agility heroes, you can kill them with hero nukes very well compared to other heroes, because they don't actually have that much health. In fact, if we look, he's got 50 less health than the Death Knight, even though he's a level higher. But what they do have is just a ton of armor. He's got, with these items, 5 armor plus 3. The Death Knight has 3 armor plus 3 with the same items. So they're very resistant to just right-clicking on them with something like a ghoul, right? It's just generally not a good strategy. And so now the Death Knight is low on health, so he's sitting in his base healing up with Blight, and he doesn't have Unholy Aura because of the way that he decided to creep. And he's kind of getting, run off by just a couple archers and this mercenary. And so by the time that he heals up enough and gets his ghouls and finally says, all right, you know what? Come here, asshole, let's fight. Oh, hey, guess what? Daddy's back, and he's got HP and mana, and he's going to mana burn the shit out of your Death Knight, and you're going to have a bad time, 120. So overall, this whole opening game has gone very poorly. I'm going to play this game out a little bit longer because there's actually something interesting about the Demon Hunter that I do want to talk about. Take a look at the hero choice for the Night Elf. He went ahead and got a Naga. The Undead is also going to get a Tavern Hero. Let's see which Tavern Hero the Undead gets. Oh, what could it be? It's a mystery. Yeah, the Undead also gets a Naga. Okay, so why are these guys getting a fucking Naga Sea Witch? As you can see, the Undead could not keep his Death Knight's health up, and, the Night Elf, he's playing against an Undead. He's going to have Coil, eventually Nova, and Forked Lightning from this Naga. So why would he pick what is arguably the easiest hero in the game to kill? Well, the reason is very simple. The dynamics of this matchup are kind of interesting in that neither player can actually right-click on that Naga and kill it. And I'll explain why. The Night Elf can't just go kill this Naga. And we're going to have to pause because there's a fight here. The Night Elf can't actually just come kill this Naga because if he does, he's going to have to run his army through these ghouls. And if he runs archers through these ghouls, well, you're running archers through ghouls. Your archers are all going to die. Duh, that's stupid. If he runs his hero, the Demon Hunter, through the ghouls, well, the Demon Hunter's going to get surrounded. Likewise, the Undead can't punish the Naga in the early and the mid game because the Demon Hunter's mana burn, especially once he gets level 3, is going to take away all the Undead's ability to nuke that hero until he gets, statues and items later in the game. So essentially you end up in a situation where the Undead can't nuke the Naga, so the Undead's unable to punish that pick, and the Night Elf can't get to the Naga, so the Night Elf is unable to punish that pick. So the Naga sort of weirdly ends up working well in this matchup and letting both players kind of pick off enemy units. You can also go for the Lich. The Naga is by far not the only choice, but the Naga is a very solid choice in this situation. I'd say the Undead, you can go for the Naga or the Lich as your second hero. I don't really know that there's any other heroes you want to be going against the Night Elf. Yeah, there's really not anything else, because even if you try like a Dark Ranger push, they've got Wisps to destroy the skeletons, so you pretty much want to stick to the standard stuff or the Naga. As for the Night Elf, you can pretty much go like 4 different heroes. You'll see an Alchemist, you'll see a Naga, you'll see a Keeper of the Grove. You have quite a few options that you'll see from the Night Elf side of things. So let's take a look at this fight. This time 120 is not gonna play around like he did before. He's gonna go for the surround on the Demon Hunter, and the Naga is gonna help him get that, which is good. However, I also have a gripe with this. So you can see he gets the surround, but he doesn't close the surround. And with the creeps here, as well as the archers, he doesn't commit to the surround. So he's lost 1 ghoul, and he's gonna lose this second ghoul, which, he's kind of lets just run away and die, but he still is chasing this Demon Hunter. So essentially he half-heartedly committed to a surround, and he lost 2 ghouls to it, and he might just lose this 3rd ghoul, I can't remember. The Demon Hunter comes back in for the mana burn, and he's essentially going to have to TP out because of that. Now, 3rd ghoul does go down. He's going to have to TP out of that, so he probably didn't have to do that, but, maybe it was a willing trade for him, because now he can just sort of heal up, and the Undead is sort of out of steam. And there's one other really good thing about the Naga I forgot to mention. The Naga is actually really good against the Demon Hunter specifically, because what's really frustrating, you see this Death Knight is constantly getting mana burned. What's going to happen to you a lot with the Undead, I'll just let the game play a little more, is your Death Knight will constantly get up to about 30 to 50 mana before you get mana burnt in a fight, right? And it's really frustrating watching that happen, because you never actually get a death coil. You get so close so many times, but you never actually get, like right there, 49. So damn close to a death coil, but you never get one. The Naga doesn't have that problem, because the Naga's spell that you're using is Cold Arrow, which only costs a couple of mana at a time. So even if the Death Knight mana burns are all the way down to 0, which he did, every couple of seconds you're still going to get a Cold Arrow, and usually 1, maybe 2 is all you need to actually kill a unit. So even though this Naga kind of got mana burnt to 0, she's still going to be useful in the next fight, because even with just a little bit of mana, the Naga can still perform with that Cold Arrow. So we're going to go ahead and end this game here. It's pretty much goes poorly from here. The Night Elf gets an expansion up, and 120 just gets out of position and loses. So, spoiler alert, Undead loses this one. But let's go ahead and take a look at the next game. And he's actually not going to AOW creep it. He's going to run it at the Death Knight at level 1. And come find him creeping across the map and mana burn him. Again, the Death Knight goes for Death Coil this time at level 1, which probably would have been better to go for Unholy Aura, which we'll see in the third game actually. But the Shocker responds to this Demon Hunter very well. You see Shocker actually sells his TP. You can do that versus Night Elf. Night Elf is one of the matchups where you probably don't need that TP, so if you're a pretty good player, if you're confident, you can sell that. You don't need to keep it. Okay, so what's he gonna do here? So he's got this Demon Hunter. He's gonna get his skeleton spawned. It looks kind of bad for him, but he tucks his Death Knight up in the corner. The Demon Hunter says, "Okay, let me go mana burn this Death Knight at least one more time." But oh, traps him, and he gets the surround. And of course, it's level 1, so coil that Ghoul, and the Death Knight or Demon Hunter's gonna have to TP out of here. So that's kind of the stuff that you want to be doing, is tricking the Demon Hunter into coming a little too close for comfort and then surrounding him. That's pretty much what you're looking for in this matchup early on, especially versus a level 1, level 2 harass. This one is between Happy as the Undead up here, I Love Candies, and Hurricane BO, who has garnered some attention on the Reddits lately for some recent tournament drama, but I don't really care about that, so we're not going to talk about it. This is another game on NetEase, which is on patch 1.30.1 still, but that's pretty immaterial for the game that we're looking at. Happy is going to actually play really well against the Demon Hunter early on, and this is going to be a pretty standard game, and frankly, I would say that this game goes, all things considered, fantastically for Happy. He does a really great job. He lives up to his reputation for sure. Again, we got the Demon Hunter. He's doing the harass. He's right-clicking the baddies. The Ancient of War, taking the damages. Happy down here, he takes Aura level 1, and you saw the Acolyte scouted his Demon Hunter, and instead of kind of letting the Acolyte die or bring it back to base, he's going to bring it down here. This is a really good idea versus Night Elf, because you want to put this Acolyte in a spot where it's going to see their Tree of Life going up, because very early on, as early as, like we talked about in the last commentary, 3 minutes, they could be sending a Wisp to build this. Now, Demon Hunter usually is going to expand a little bit later than the Keeper of the Grove, but they could still do it early, and so this Acolyte's going to sit here and look for an expansion. Happy, meanwhile, gets this creep camp finished, so he gets his level 2 before the Demon Hunter shows up, which is great. It's just a fortunate map for that. But you can see that the Demon Hunter now has shown up, so he's going to try and go for this round. So let's talk about micro a little bit. I think the Demon Hunter versus the Death Knight is a really micro-intensive matchup, and it's something that is a good thing. Some people like that, some people don't. One thing that you'll notice is that he's kind of controlling his Ghouls and Death Knights separately from time to time. And that's one thing that you have to be able to do in this matchup. What you're trying to do is kind of just see the Demon Hunter running at you and then move past him and surround him. Now, we'll see here, actually both players get caught off guard, so this could have been bad for either player. Happy could have got this surround because you could see neither of them have their units selected. So Happy's looking somewhere else. What's he looking at? He's looking at, maybe he was looking at that. Oh, he's looking at the skeleton. He's trying to get this Wisp. And I don't know what Hurricane's looking at. He's looking at something, but now he just clicked on his Demon Hunter, and so he says, "Oh, whoops, let me get the fuck out of here." Meanwhile, Happy just realizes, oh shit, I had the surround and I let it go. So he gets mana burnt, and he's not quite going to get this Demon Hunter here. Demon Hunter's going to slip out. But so yeah, you want to try and go for these surrounds, and you're going to need to be able to control these units independently of each other. That's just something you got to work on. It's not, I wouldn't say like you can't win the matchup if you're not able to do that, you know, if you're a newer player, but just make that a goal to practice doing that. Maybe try putting your Ghouls into a different control group as the Death Knight, as you kind of get more used to this matchup if you're playing against the Demon Hunter more. We're going to see Happy is really slick. So one of the reasons that you need Unholy Aura is because before this Demon Hunter gets boots, you can see his movement speed is fast. And these Ghouls are also fast. This Death Knight is very fast. So the Ghouls are as fast as the Demon Hunter right now, basically. It's very close. And so if he's even a little bit uncareful, whoops, gotcha, bitch, gets the surround. And that's exactly what you're looking for. You're going to force the TP. Hurricane knows there's no point in fighting that out, so he's just going to TP out of there right away. Wisely so. You don't want to take more damage than you need to on the Demon Hunter and waste a bunch of Moonwell mana. But if we see down here, this Acolyte, like we were talking about earlier, catches this tree. So what do? You're going to run across the map and you're going to take out this tree, obviously. Unlike the Keeper of the Grove, the Demon Hunter is not able to pick off ghouls as easily as the Keeper with Entangle. The Demon Hunter is very good at working with Dryads to pick off units and ghouls. They slow him down and the Demon Hunter chases him down, especially because now he's getting his boots and staff. This is very important for the Demon Hunter. You're going to see them get those 2 items all the time. Not every game, but most games. They should be getting both, in my opinion. Now, how do you micro this, right? If you've ever taken an army of ghouls and just right-clicked on a unit, you know it doesn't work too well because they all kind of bunch up. So when you do this, generally what you're going to do is you're going to take 2 ghouls and right-click them on 1 archer, and 2 other ghouls and right-click on another archer. However, there's another rule that you need to know. These Moonwells, did you ever play freeze tag as a kid? Yeah, these are home base. So if these archers get to the Moonwells, they're home free, and you need to back the fuck up and leave them alone. Don't chase them into the Moonwells, because you will sit there and right-click on an archer, and it will heal, and you will lose every ghoul that you commit to that attack, because you just cannot do enough damage to suck up all that Moonwell mana and still kill archers. It's just not going to happen, so you need to give up on that fantasy right there. But at this point, we've pretty much moved out of the early game harass. We've delayed this expansion for a while, so the Night Elf at tier 2 now is going to be going into his tier 2 tech, which will be Ancients of Lore more often than not. As I mentioned, you'll seldom see Fairy Dragons because you kind of just need Entangle to make the Fairy Dragon strategy work very well. It does rely pretty heavily on that. He's went ahead and gone for the Alchemist, the second hero. It's a pretty safe choice. You get some nice healing, gives you a lot of damage as well, and he's going to kind of fight over this. And the Night Elf gets the Ankh, but I think he ends up selling that. So as I mentioned before, you're going to see Happy kind of do the 2 ghoul thing. You'll see a couple of these ghouls jump on it, but you'll also notice now he's microing his army separate. So he's got this Death Knight going up here and his ghouls go down here. Now it does have the unfortunate effect of these ghouls are losing the ability to have that Unholy Aura, let them chase down archers. But at that point, that's fine. He's just going to run the ghouls away now that he realizes he can't really fight them. It works a little better before you have the second hero on the map, but with the Alchemist there to support those archers, it's not going to go well, especially at night. No dust, no nothing. So we see Happy's lost a couple of ghouls here. Something important to remember is as soon as you start losing ghouls, that's usually the sign that it's time to stop making ghouls. Like, he's losing ghouls here and he's not getting anything for them, so I think this ghoul is like the last one he's going to make. He's going to switch to Crypt Fiends at this point and move into a tier 3 army of Fiends with Death Knight Lich and Crypt Fiends, and then you have some other choices to make. Some final notes. Happy does end up winning this game. In fact, we can just kind of speed this up and go ahead and take a look at the end of this game here. Since we've already covered the fun stuff we wanted to. What Happy's going to end up doing here is going to get a Lich, and then his tier 3 is going to be, or his third hero is going to be the Goblin Tinker, which we saw last game. The Tinker's just pretty good in Night Elf in general. Like I talked about why the Naga's kind of hard to force a kill on with the Demon Hunter. The Tinker follows some of those same rules. Granted, he's melee, not range, so not quite so much, but it still works out pretty fine. You're still going to need some destroyers, or at least you're going to want some, just because it's nice to have that dispel available. Some things to keep an eye out from the Night Elf in this matchup is if he has double Ancients of Lore like this, he can easily start making bears. If he does start making bears, you're going to want to get destroyers for dispel, but you also probably want to work your way up to frost worms versus bears. That's generally the right way to go in that situation. And then versus mass dryads, instead, what you'll want to do is add abominations into your army, and then after you break 50 food, if he's making a ton of dryads, you're going to want to go ahead and get yourself some meat wagons as well. So let's go ahead and skip forward to the end of the game and watch the final fight. So here we have the end of the game. Happy is still banking at 50 food. The Night Elf is up at 60 food. If you watch the first commentary, then you'll know that this is something pretty common versus Night Elf. You don't really want to break in a low upkeep too early, because then you'll just get destroyed economically. One thing to note that 120 did not do well at all in that first game, that Happy's done much better here, is you need sometimes to just let your heroes get their mana. Heal up on those statues, get health and mana, because if you don't, you're going to have, like, if you only have, like, 200 mana, you're going to show up, coil one thing, and then the Demon Hunter's going to mana burn you, and you're out of coils for the rest of the fight. Instead, versus this Demon Hunter in a fight, what you're kind of going to want to do is have a bunch of mana going into it, and that way you can, you know, get mana burnt twice without really feeling the effects too bad. But don't hold your spells for too long, kind of use them, so you kind of are racing against his mana burn to get them off before he takes them away. Happy's using his coil pretty defensively here. That's fine. You could go for the Demon Hunter or the Alchemist and try and nuke him down, but you don't necessarily have to. You can use it defensively. You get pretty good value out of it. Obviously, you can't nuke down his army because he's got a bunch of Dryads. If he has bears, you can try and spend more of those nukes trying to pick off his bears earlier in the fight to take away his roar, his dispel, as well as the damage that the bears do. But for the most part, like I've said a couple times now, Demon Hunter ends up just being a micro-heavy matchup. Like you get a really, I think, satisfying fight most of the time. Like here, he's gonna staff teleportation out, heal up on the Moonwells. That's just a part of the Night Elf matchup. It's frustrating, but you know, it's just a part of the game. You gotta deal with that. You gotta expect that he's gonna get his heroes out of there at the last minute and then come back and annoy the shit out of you. It's it's just kind of a part of playing Undead versus Night Elf. But not too much to say about it. My main recommendation is if the hero overextends, go ahead and try to nuke down whichever hero it is, because you definitely can get some nukes in. In fact, I think we might see that at the end of this game here. Nukes are pretty effective against that demon. Yep, here we go. The Demon Hunter's running in. He gets a coil off just in time in the Lich, but this Demon Hunter's now out of position. Orb of Corruption gets rid of the armor on the Demon Hunter. He's going to take a bunch of damage here. Not quite going to go down because he does have all these heal potions. He actually bought 2. He only used 1 so far. But with these statues here, the Undead is getting a bunch of mana back. He uses his mana burn on the Lich. Oh, and he's low, but he's still in it. But chasing down those heroes, kind of ran himself through the Undead army, and those heroes are doing some work, doing plenty of damage, keeping up on it. Dryads, they're dangerous, they're hard, they can mass up, they do poison damage over time, they slow you down so it's hard to run away or chase, but they don't really do that much damage. You don't have to worry too much about a bunch of Dryads. You're okay if you have a hardy army of some higher level heroes, abominations, as long as you're not bringing a bunch of ghouls to the fight. Then you can sort of survive with Dryads throwing these stupid poison Night Elf spears at you. It's not that big of a deal. And yeah, Hurricane's just kind of getting chased off by this Undead army that refused to die. He's chasing the Tinker down. Death Knight's going to do a slick little trick, drop a potion for him. He's going to invul it, and then, oh wait, what's that? Oh, my Death Knight has mana. You forgot to mana burn me, you bitch! And then the Demon Hunter finally goes down. So that's pretty much how you play it out. Eventually, he's not going to mana burn everything. You just let your statues keep giving you some mana back, and you'll get spells over the course of the fight. You just can't be throwing them out constantly like you can in a lot of matchups. You just got to get used to the idea that it's going to be much less about throwing out a ton of nukes and blowing people up, and a lot more about actually positioning your units well, carefully using items, timing, focus fire. So it can be a really satisfying matchup if you play it out right. Just make sure you remember to go for those surrounds in the early game. Don't let the Demon Hunter bully you around and pick off ghouls. And for God's sake, don't do what 120 did and take a bunch of damage on your Death Knight and get stuck in your base while he just sits there and expands and builds a bunch of Dryads and laughs at you. Goes back to his Night Elf tree and has a drink with all the Keebler elves talking about what a stupid undead bitch you are. So make sure you play out the matchup early game correctly, get yourself into the mid game, and then get ready for a micro war, boys, because that's what the matchup is all about. So hopefully you learned something interesting. I'm excited to see the Demon Hunter come back into the meta. I hope he does, because I think he's a really iconic hero. I think he's a really cool hero, and I've enjoyed a lot of my games against the Demon Hunter over the years. And I know somewhere out there in space and time, Mr. Cygnus is flying amongst the angels with his wings, because every time a Night Elf builds a Demon Hunter, Mr. Cygnus gets his wings. That's it for today. I'm going to go eat a bunch of cough drops because I'm still sick as shit. I did have a couple people ask me if I stream. I do. There's a link in the description, twitch.tv/Dredrick. I will be streaming soon-ish, trademark. I just can't right now. Even talking as long as it takes to record one of these is it's kind of pushing it for right me, and you can kind of tell right now that my voice is all jacked up. So hopefully I'll be feeling a little better in the next week or so, and then I'll get on Twitch and start playing some games live. But yeah, in the meantime, hopefully you enjoyed this talking about the Demon Hunter. I am looking forward to doing a few more of these. I think this is fun. I'd like to do some more of these because in addition to just talking about the matchup and showing some other people how you can potentially play these matchups and some things that you can learn from it, sitting down and analyzing the replays and talking about them kind of helps me internalize that information too. So I think it helps my play to just talk about these matchups and kind of explain them to other people. So I enjoyed recording this and hope to see you guys in the next time. See you later, folks.